everybody, and welcome. Father Brandon here with you again. This is Motovlog number 6. Wow, it means it's been a month and a half since we started this whole quarantine thing. So I hope you all are staying as happy, healthy, and holy as you can. I know I'm doing my best, even though sometimes there's ups and downs. We take the good with the bad, right? We just remain strong in prayer. So this weekend, this last weekend that is, at the parish we had a virtual DTS, Dead Theologian Society, for some of our younger kids. And, well, not too young, like middle school, high school, whatever. Anyways, so we talked about John Henry Newman, and it reminded me of a quote of John Henry Newman that says, "Knowledge is one thing, virtue is another." Knowledge is one thing, virtue is another. And it reminded me of a class last year that I studied, I studied moral theology at the Angelicum in Rome for a year after I'd gotten my theology degree. But you're also able to take classes in other areas of study. Well, you had to. And so I took a history of spirituality with Professor Father Buckles, a Dominican. And I have to admit that I initially took the class because everybody said it was really easy. But it ended up being one of the better classes that I really actually maybe have taken in my whole life. He talks, just the history of spirituality, how his spirituality has developed, throughout the Christian church. But so perhaps he was also a lenient professor, but he was an excellent teacher. And I definitely find myself looking back on some of that material and those stories even today. And one of the things that he mentioned over and over again was just what it takes to be a saint. Like, throughout the history of the church, we've seen the call for everybody to be saints, the universal call to holiness, as Lumen Gentium, we'll talk about it during Vatican II, but really throughout the history of the church, it's always been the call. But what does it mean to be holy and eventually to be called a saint? Well, really, as Father Buckles would say, you can sum it up in one word: charity. Now, obviously, holiness is something internal. It's our intimate relationship with God, doing His work and His will. And in this, holiness isn't something that we can measure. It's not something we can objectively look at. So, how do we declare somebody a saint then? If holiness isn't something that we can look at in another person objectively, how does the Church name a saint? Well, the first criteria to start the process is heroic charity. To even become a venerable, much less a blessed or a saint, you need to have heroic charity. Now, even though holiness, again, is something interior, we look for those external manifestations of that holiness. And heroic charity is the first and foremost criteria. Heroic. That's pretty crazy. Like, it's not just like you are kind and nice to people, it's you're a hero in charity. Now, that might seem tough, but it's also a bit of a consolation because the Church doesn't look first at who's the smartest and who had the most conversion, who is the best preacher, because none of that automatically makes you a saint or holy. Only charity does. And charity, because charity comes from Christ. Charity is a theological virtue. It's a gift from God. And God assists us with His grace in this matter. And so we might not be able to be saints on our own, but with God's help and His grace, yes, we can be saints. Which, man, that is awesome. So maybe some practical tips. I think the biggest thing, I say it all the time, start small. So kind of a St. Therese of Lisieux sort of thing. Like, do little things with great love. Like, heroic charity isn't always big things. Sometimes being a hero in charity is doing lots of little things, especially when we don't want to, right? And now each person, will find, his own unique calling, whether it be as a sister, a brother, a priest, or a spouse, as most people will be called to. And it's within that specific vocation that we are called to live that heroic charity. So, like, for myself as a priest, my heroic charity certainly looks a little bit different than parents at home, where I'm, getting up and I have my promises to prayer and to celibacy and to obedience. Parents have that promise that they made to each other and eventually, God willing, to their children. And so, heroic charity. It's one of those awesome things. It's the way that people will know eventually that we're a saint, but it's also a great external manifestation of our internal holiness. That is God working in us and through us, so that we might one day live forever in heaven with Him, our Creator, and our Beloved. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Again, I hope you're all doing well. Please don't be afraid to leave a comment with suggestions, topics, questions, whatever you got. Like, subscribe, share, hit the bell, all those crazy things. It's so good to be with you guys. Know of my prayers. God bless.